All right, let's talk about these three games. My name is Lippy. This is Devil's Weekly Roundup. So the New Jersey Devils played 3 games this week in which they played the Montreal Canadiens, the Washington Capitals, and the Buffalo Sabres. The Devils won 2, lost 1, and we're going to talk about all 3 of them. First off, let's talk about the Montreal game. The Montreal game was definitely probably the Devils' best game for the whole entire season. I thought they controlled the puck very well. Jack Hughes had 4 points on the night, which I believe this was the night he set the record for, or tied the record, for most points to begin a season over the first 5 games. He was tied with these 2 scrubs. I believe their names were Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. Never heard of them. But so the Devils won the game 5-2. The positives that I saw that I really stood out is I really thought that they were controlling the puck well. Jack Hughes was obviously Jack Hughes. Alexander Holtz was looking very good. I don't think he got on the score sheet. And obviously Tyler Toffoli had the hat trick. This is exactly the type of game the Devils had to play in order to get back on track with everything. And ultimately was very happy about it. So what was interesting about this Tuesday game was all 31 other teams were also playing. So basically ESPN was doing this thing called Frozen Frenzy, where basically everybody was playing. So the Devils were going to be on a back-to-back, and the opponent that they were facing would also be on a back-to-back. Now, who was that opponent? Glad you asked. So, I'll level with you. I personally think the Washington Capitals are only in this league for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, they want to get Alexander Ovechkin the goal record. And number 2 is to beat the goddamn New Jersey Devils. I feel like, and I did look this up, the Devils have faced the Capitals a lot of times. They're division rivals. It happens. Over the past 3 seasons, the Devils have beat them 4 times. And this includes the COVID season, in which they faced them 8 times, and they beat them 0. The Washington Capitals, it doesn't matter how good this Devils team is. The Washington Capitals always have the New Jersey Devils number. First period was 3-0 Capitals after the first. And then we get into the second period, and all of a sudden, here come the New Jersey Devils. I believe it was in the span of 2 minutes, they scored 4 goals. They took the lead. They looked like the world beaters we thought they could be. Jack Hughes was doing Jack Hughes things. Tyler Toffoli continued to score goals. They were looking like they took control of the game. Vitek settled in. He was looking good. We exit the second period up 4-3. Devils got it in the bag. They dominated that period. It is what it is. But then we remembered the second reason why the Washington Capitals are still in this league. And it is to beat the goddamn New Jersey Devils. Capitals score 3 unanswered goals in the third period. They win the game 6-4, which is probably just the most weird. It was probably the worst game of the season so far. I know it was only the 6th game of the season, but it was just... the thing to remember during this whole entire time is these 4 to 5 goal games are great in the beginning of the season, but when you are in late December, early January, you do not want to be having these type of games. And, it's important to have better team play. So then now let's talk about the Friday game. I want to give Buffalo a lot of credit here because Buffalo is an up-and-coming team. They have a really good young core. They've actually been signing this young core. I believe they just signed Darlene and Powers to 7-year contracts. Tage Thompson is a great player. Jeff Skinner has revitalized himself as a goal scorer. This team has a lot of good pieces to it. And they are pushing to try to make the playoffs this year because they were in the race last year for a good portion of the season. They're trying to take that next step like the Devils did. So this game was going to be tight. And these games versus Buffalo are always tight. Buffalo always plays the Devils well. They're almost kind of like on the same level as the Washington Capitals, where they always just seem to have our number. And it was looking like that because for the 7th game in a row, the Devils gave up the first goal. And they had to fight back. And at the end of the first, it was 2-2, which is fine. That's exactly fine. You're in the game. Vitek was looking pretty okay. The goals were just a breakdown in team play. I believe one was Luke fell down at the red line, which led to a breakaway, which, things happen. And then the other one was Tage Thompson making a very good move. It happens. I will say, in the first period, there was a little bit of a scary play. Nico Hischier took a hit from Connor Clifton that was basically a headshot. Was it malicious? No. But it was a headshot nonetheless. Connor Clifton literally hit him in the head. It was a very stupid hit, is basically the way I would phrase that. But what that kind of did was, though, I think it kind of got the team going a little bit, as much as you don't want to see your own player get hurt. Andre Palat steps in, he fights, he gets the fighting major, all that, it happens. But then the team definitely seemed to have a better team play after all that. Granted, the final score was 5-4. So when you hear team play, normally you mean the score is going to be kind of low, but honestly, 5-4, not exactly what you're expecting. But I will say the team play was much, much better. I really do think that they stepped up there. Alexander Holtz had his best game of his career. He was generating chances. He scored a goal. He was looking great, despite being put on the fourth line with McLeod and Bastian. He looked amazing. And overall, the Devils, they got the win. So I think at this point, as we're figuring things out and watching this team figure things out, it is important to remember they need to get better. They will get better. I think moving forward, the Devils need to maybe stick with Vitek and not be doing this flip-flop that we kind of saw for the first couple games, where we saw Vitek one game, Schmid the next game, Vitek, Schmid, Vitek, Schmid. Stick with Vitek. Let Vitek settle in. Let him show that he can handle that workload, and then work with Schmid to get his confidence back, and then try to implement him again. I think that's very important. So, as we look forward to next week, the Devils have 3 games. They have a home and away with the Minnesota Wild, and then they have their first away in the Western Conference versus the St. Louis Blues. So the Devils are going to be heading out west. So it's important to obviously win these games. You're not going to be losing ground in your own division if you do lose these games, like to the other team. But it's important to still get these points here. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. If you want to follow me on my socials, you can. If you want to like, comment, and subscribe, really do appreciate it. My name is Lippy. This was the Devils Weekly Roundup, and I will see you next week.